Now, hello, folks. This is Joe from MIGeekScene.com. I am sitting right next to Robert Hendricks at the Capital City Comic Con 2015 in Hazlitt High School. Robert, how are you doing today?
Doing great, thanks.
Robert, I was looking over your comics the other night, just doing some research on you before this, and I noticed that you were inspired by Julia Wirtz. What was it about the I Saw You by Julia Wirtz, who created Fart Party, that inspired you to create Stranger to Stranger?
Well, I was really interested in getting into comics, and I didn't really have solid ideas, but I was really drawn to the idea of illustrating small stories, and I was just struck by how bizarre and random they were at times. So I thought, well, this would be a good way for me to find content readily available online, search out stories I thought I could illustrate, and then illustrate them. So that's kind of how I learned kind of the medium of sequential storytelling. So I did those first Stranger to Stranger comics based on the I Saw You stuff. So, I thought it was a really cool compilation, all the different styles. And when I did research on Julia Wirtz, she just mentioned that, she just got into comics and just started it. So I thought I could do it too. So yeah, it was kind of an inspiration.
A lot, well, not necessarily a lot, but some of the comics I saw were the Lost Connections from Craigslist and whatnot. What was so appealing about those that you're like, yeah, I should do these? I know you said content that's readily available, but what was it about those that just stuck out? Because I always enjoy the Lost Connection ones because they're so random.
Yeah, I couldn't make some of that stuff up. It's just too good. So, I guess the fact that it's just really bizarre and strange. Some of them are really sweet too, though. I didn't always just focus on the weird stuff, but I was just trying to find a good sampling of things, and people. There's kind of this underground, I think, group of people that read those things on a constant basis. So they kind of, when you mention it, they're like, light bulb flips off, and then they're like, oh yeah, Craigslist.
Was there any stories that you were doing, that you were looking over, like, I probably shouldn't do that one?
Yeah, there's a lot. I would read a lot. I picked mostly major cities because those were the places where there was the most chance of connections, so, or people, writing them in. So, yeah, there's a lot on there. I had to filter through. I wanted to keep it somewhat PG-13 too.
Fair enough.
And there's some that are just really, adult themed, I guess is the best way to put that.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that one. I'll leave that for some other time. That's for My Geek Scene After Dark, which doesn't exist. But nonetheless, when I was looking at your website, outside of a Sergeant Rock piece inspired by Joe Kubert, most of your artwork is based on real people in history. What is the appeal of those two main themes that strike a chord with you?
Good question.
I try to go for questions that aren't generally asked all the time.
Well, a little bit of my background. I'm a journalist. I worked in newspapers for about 10 years as a photojournalist. So I'm really drawn to true stories, telling those true stories. And I've noticed I got into comics pretty late in life, probably in the last 6 years or so. And I got turned on to all those underground people that were doing things that, like Julia Wirtz does a memoir kind of comic, and even like R. Crumb, who I really love, he has comics in there that he does memoir, and he also will illustrate, like stories of blues legends and things like that. And I just thought that's a really cool way to retell historical things. So that's kind of where I kind of got into that more, and I wanted to do something a little more long-term story as opposed to the short little snippets that are the misconnections.
Since you are a photographer, are your photos contributing to inspiration for your comics now?
I don't know that my photos do, but I do use a lot of photo reference, I do a little thing. I started a little portrait series on baseball legends, and so I really love going back and trying to find photos of Ty Cobb and Tris Speaker and Three Fingers Brown and like all these strange old baseball players, and there are photos of them. And so, I mean, my photos are not really, they don't really contribute to what I'm doing, though, I would say.
Okay.
But I love historical photography.
Okay. Where can people check out your artwork?
You can get it in a couple of different places. There's my Tumblr site, which is stranger2stranger.tumblr.com, and then I also have a comics section on my website, which is roberthendricks.net, either /comics, or if you just go to roberthendricks.net, that gets to my photo stuff, but all my links are on there. And I have an Etsy store that you can get to from there, where I sell the stuff. And I try to travel around to a few different shows. I'll do like some zine fests too. Like I've done Mid-Michigan Zine Fest and Grand Rapids Zine Fest. And I'm doing Chicago Zine Fest in a week. So
I was about to ask what's your next show, but never mind.
yeah, I'm doing Chicago Zine Fest in a week, and then later in July I'm doing Space, which is the small press alternative comics expo in Columbus.
Okay. Well, for the folks that have been reading your comics, what would you like to say to them?
I really appreciate it. I mean, I just enjoy sharing artwork. I oftentimes do some free stuff that I'll hand out to people just to give it away, because there's no point in creating art if you can't share it. So a lot of my stuff is really cheap, I think, too. So I like to just get it out. I'm not doing this to get rich. I just like drawing and telling stories.
All right, well, Robert, thank you so much for granting me this interview. Folks, this is Joe from MIGeekScene.com with Robert Hendricks. Take it easy.